Hey guys, Dr. Ben here. So excited to have you on today. Going to talk about mutations, variants, new strains, all these things that you're seeing. If you're watching any news at all, it's everywhere. That's all they're talking about is, oh my gosh, we're ready to have another spike. Things are going to go up. All these things are doomsday that are going to be taking place. But ultimately, what is going on and what should you be doing today to prepare for not only this virus, but guess what? There's going to be another virus. There's going to be another bacteria. Next year, the flu is going to be back. Next year, strep throat's going to be back. Next year, all these other things are going to be happening. Hey, George, good to see you. All right, so if you guys are popping on and you have not already liked or followed our page, go ahead and do that down below. Share this with anybody that you know that's worried about COVID, worried about viruses, worried about their immune system. Get this out there. Hey, Misty out in Alliance. And Carol, good to see you as well. Pop down below where you guys are watching from. So here we go. Let's jump into this. Hey, Carol, good to see you. So if you've watched any news lately, this is rampant. Germany just shut down. Canada just closed down all of their restaurants, and it's only takeout now because they've had a bump in what they're calling these variants, these mutated strains, some different things. And is that this weird, crazy thing that's happening, or is that just natural evolution of a virus? And a lot of viruses are going to evolve. They're going to change. That's one of the reasons it's very hard every year to get the right strains for the flu vaccine. Most years they miss it, even as much as 80-90%. They miss what they should be hitting as far as what the current strain of that flu virus is. So yes, COVID is going to mutate. COVID is going to expand and change. Hey, Andrea, good to see you there in Michigan, and Paula. So we are going to see these changes. We are going to see mutations come about, especially, think about this, especially, I was looking up some research and I couldn't find anything saying that there was ever, during an actual outbreak, a pandemic, a full-blown virus running rampant around the world, whatever they're looking at, I didn't see any time that there had ever been a vaccine introduced during that. It's always been afterwards, and just to make sure that it didn't come back, things like that. So we don't know what's going to happen to this, but what we do know with viruses, with bacteria, this is why we get antibiotic resistance, because antibiotics kick in, kill off a bunch, but the strong survive. Same thing with viruses. Viruses, their only intention is to survive, and the way that they do that is that they infiltrate your cells. They're able to replicate in there. They ultimately don't want to kill the host, because if the host dies, then the virus has to go find a new host. So they want to hold on, and this is one of the reasons we see Epstein-Barr. We see some of these other viruses that are just holding on to. Yeah, George, great question. If people are vaccinated, can they pass it on to someone? Yes, there was just a case even here in Colorado where a worker at one of the elderly care facilities, she had vaccination and she tested positive, and she, if you're testing positive and they have enough that they can swab in your nasal passage, there's a good chance that you're going to be able to be passing that on to somebody. That's why they say if you get vaccinated, you still need to wear a mask, because there's very good chance that you still can get sick, you still can hold on to it, and you can still transfer it around the body. So pretty interesting in there that it's not the be all and end all that we're like, oh, okay, now we're good. What's really interesting is you keep hearing these numbers thrown around. 70-80% of the population need to be vaccinated in order to get to this place of where we ultimately have herd immunity and everything. And what they're not talking about is that people that have had the virus, people that have actually been infected, they're going to fall into that category as well. And there's a lot of people that have been exposed to other coronaviruses that have T cells close enough to this that they're not going to get COVID also. So, ultimately we're a lot closer to herd immunity in the United States. But the interesting part, some other countries like Thailand, places in Africa, they have had like 2-3% of their population vaccinated. Some places have had 0% of their population vaccinated. And so I was just reading an article this morning. They were talking about how these mutations and these variants are going to ultimately lead to needing to every 6 to 12 months needing to get some type of a booster shot, and that there's going to be this evolution of COVID and the coronavirus from that. So ultimately, what does that mean? Well, if somebody has a vaccine passport, they're going to have to be using that and updating it and using that on a regular basis. I just saw that Rutgers University is not going to allow kids back next fall if they're not vaccinated. There's another school I was reading about. I forgot the name on it, but they've got a plan to have some type of a pin or patch that you'll be able to wear, and if you wear that, you don't have to wear a mask. But if you don't have one, if you haven't been vaccinated, then you basically still have to wear a mask. You can go to campus. So interesting what's going on out there. But as you block a lot of these viruses, what happens is that you allow other ones to proliferate, and it's not able to burn itself out. And that's usually what happens with a lot of viruses, is it'll kind of work through, and that's why we see these waves. And so as that happens, the stronger these variants, these mutations, viruses mutate all the time. Even last summer, they were saying there were upwards of 50 different mutations already that they had identified with this COVID-19. So what do we do? Well, we do the same things we've been doing since last March. We work on our vitamin D. Get that up in that 60 to 80 range. Some people need to take 10,000 a day. You take your zinc, you take your vitamin C. If you are feeling sick, if you're feeling down, you bump that vitamin D up to 50,000 a day for 3 days. You're going to get into taking your quercetin, keeping things like some of the medications that people have talked about. I'm not going to get into it here, but some of those things on hand if need be. You look at all of the things that are going to help that immune system, and you make sure that your blood sugar is stable. I just posted an article yesterday. Everyone's been talking about Krispy Kreme and that, hey, I got my vaccine, so go get a donut. Well, guess what? Now you go get that donut and your blood sugar spikes up, and then you're going to have a bigger reaction actually from this vaccine. A lot of people may have actually had a little fever or had to take a couple days off work, things like that, because that immune system got revved up and irritated. So don't spike that blood sugar. Keep it as consistent as possible. Huge part about keeping the immune system where it needs to be. Getting proper sleep. You need to not only get the amount of sleep, but you need to get the quality sleep. If you're not waking up refreshed, then you're not going to be able to be as restored as you possibly should throughout the day. Your immune system isn't going to be working as well as it should. Yeah, George ditched the donut. I just posted an article on here yesterday from cnet.com, and they were talking about the immune system being depleted anytime that blood sugar spikes up. So we've got to keep our blood sugar as steady as possible. You've got to get that quality sleep. You've got to shut down your stress, your mind. If you're not taking days off, if you're not taking downtime, even a few hours throughout the week, taking a Sabbath, doing any of these things to shut it down, and you are going to be stressing out your body to that point where you're not repairing and rebuilding. We need eustress. So I'm pushing every day. We're opening up in Nashville. We've got our Phoenix location. Dr. Taylor, great to see you. We've got all these different things going on, and I've got 4 boys and life and going and a wonderful wife and all these different things. And yet there's got to be downtime. There's got to be that time to give your adrenals a chance to repair and rebuild. So it is crucial to do the things that you need to do to make your body as vibrant as possible so that it can fight off anything. Because you know what? We are going to have mutations. We are going to have variants. We are going to have a lot of different things that come about from this virus. But what happens in a year or 5 years or 10 years or 20 years? You've got to be consistent with what you're doing. Remember, our habits are what create our health. Good habits and bad habits. Good habits we can do all types of different things. Hey, good to see you down there in Florida. We were just down a couple weeks ago. Beautiful, beautiful state. Good habits going to help push us into that right direction. Bad habits are going to push us down. And so we need both those good habits and those bad habits. The good habits, more of them, bad habits, less of them. But those habits are going to make our health for us. And so you've got to be consistent. You've got to do the things regularly over and over and over again. So remember, we're going to have variants. We're going to have mutations. Viruses are going to evolve. The flu evolves. There's going to be another outbreak of something else in our lifetime. This is just how this world is connected. We've got, planes and people traveling and all over the world, and we're going to have these type of things. So what you can do is be as strong and vital as you possibly can. That's going to beat out being safe every day of the week. There's lots of people that that have worn masks, that have washed their hands, that have socially distanced, all that stuff, and still got sick. So you've got to keep your body as vibrant and vital as possible to be able to handle any of these stressors. So get your sleep, keep that blood sugar stabilized, take your vitamin D, take your zinc, take your vitamin C. You've got to make sure that you're letting go of the stressors, letting things go. The more revved up you are, the less your immune system's able to function. And so again, if you get sneezed on, if you get exposed to somebody that's sick, keep that blood sugar even more steady over the next day. If you've decided to take the vaccine, do everything you possibly can to keep your immune system as stable as possible. We're starting to see now some reactions to that vaccine, stimulated some autoimmune, some different things. Yeah, Marilyn. And we've actually started seeing some of that. We've seen some seizures. We've seen some elevated heart rate for even over a month with some patients. Some different reactions there. So you've got to be in as best of state if you're going to decide to do the vaccine. If you're going to, have to do it for work, whatever it is, you've got to put your body in the best state possible to be able to handle this. The biggest people I worry about are that 30 to 50-year-old that's already on the verge of autoimmune, that's inflamed and has a lot going on in their body. You're the ones that really need to put the energy into getting your body as stable as possible so that you can handle that, but also so that you can handle anything else coming your way. Over 50% of the population by 2025 is going to be obese. We know that over 85% of the population that have died with COVID have been overweight and obese. So a huge part of this process is we've got to get our weight stabilized, got to get our blood sugar stabilized, insulin resistance, blood pressure, all these things, and they're reversible. You can do it in a matter of a few months. You can change your state. I had a patient, she was down 30 pounds, probably 100 pounds overweight, was down 30 pounds. By the time in November she got exposed to COVID, had a bad reaction to it, ended up having to go to the hospital, had COVID toes, all that stuff, and yet she made it and she thrived. Why? Because she'd already put the work in. She was down 30 pounds. Her blood sugar was way better. She was less inflamed, and she was able to get through. If she hadn't started working with us, there's a chance she may not have made it through this process. She was that ultimate person that was just ready to pop, and that virus was one more thing that was going to push it over the top. So here's the thing, guys. We're always going to have variants. We're always going to have mutations. We're always going to have viruses and bacteria and all these things. But what you're also always going to have, and that potential to work as well as you possibly can, is your immune system. And this immune system is a beautiful thing, and it can fight things off, and it can evolve with us, and it can change, and it can get better and stronger. And the more we're exposed to different germs and different things, it's going to be able to work as well as it possibly can. So stay strong out there. Keep the hope. Turn off the TV. Don't sit there worrying about more variants and other viruses coming, anything like that. Just do the work day in and day out to create the life that you want and to have that stress-free life so that you can have the best immune system possible. So make it a great day, everybody. Great to have you on. Pop any questions down below and let me know where you guys are watching from. Love to see everybody on there, and we'll talk soon. Take care.